But I knew that Wendell was going to go off his left at some point. He went off his left and I tackled him. And I went down, I was on the bottom of the ruck and I was like, oh, mate, you got to get more than just that left foot. And he goes, boom, and whacked me in the eye. And he goes, how's that for f***ing more than a left foot?
Welcome to episode 7 of the Aussie Rugby Show. I'm Louise Ransome. Great to have you with us. This week we're at Bluey's Bar in Maryland's RSL. They are the sponsors of the Two Blues, the Parramatta side in the Shute Shield. Alongside me, as always, Drew Mitchell, Stephen Hoiles, Sean Maloney. Guys, good to see you.
So good to be in the west of Sydney at Bluey's Bar. As we said, Two Blues, one of the great clubs in Sydney Shute Shield. Remember some of the greats that played with the Two Blues guys? Uppy Deggy, remember him? He was an enormous force. You would have gone up against him.
He was nicknamed the Green Mile. He was a giant of a man, second row.
Scary dude.
If he was on the left side of the field, you
Just
position
run.
yourself the other side of the
Car
field.
park. It's a tough employer now.
Yeah,
Proud
he was there, yeah.
Paraman,
Yeah,
Andrew Cox, bunch of others. So thanks very much for having us, Parramatta.
I
Great
had one
club.
game against the Two Blues out at Parramatta.
Did you lose?
I don't know. I wasn't. It was, let's just say I wasn't fully in it.
Right.
It was one of those where I passed the ball as much as I could. Don't get caught with the ball.
Known as Death Valley.
Death Valley.
And they could get some sides and they still can on the day because people come in here with that attitude,
Yeah.
like, how do I get in, get
What are you
out?
trying to say?
No, you've just said it, Drew. You weren't that into the game and they would have
Well,
spotted
no,
this.
I mean, got you.
No,
It
to
was
be
an
fair,
element
I
of
mean,
fear.
it was through fear that I wasn't in the
Death
game.
Valley.
I don't want to get I don't want to get touched up and smacked by these boys.
Often a dry field too, so
Yeah.
the home side took advantage of that.
Death Valley. But we're glad to be here.
Yeah, we certainly are. Last week, just want to talk about one of the stories, Drew, that you told about your mate Kurtley Beale. A lot of viewers really enjoyed that. Did you chat to Kurtley? How did he react to it?
Yeah, he was like, oh, bro, thanks for bringing that up. You didn't really necessarily have to sort of expose that to all of our viewers. He said the world, but I was like, bro, we're not that big yet.
Was he as dirty as Cliffy Parley when you spoke about knocking him out?
Look, I don't know if it's a good thing that I've heard from Kurtley and not heard from Cliffy. Cliffy might just at some point just sort of pop up over my shoulder, but
Cliffy doesn't live far from Death Valley.
yeah.
A little bit further.
Tap on the car on the way to the car.
No, but Kurtley took it well. Look, I mean, he can't argue with it. It happened. So, and if he did argue, I'd tap him out again.
Well done. Hoilesy, the Giltinis in the news again
Again?
this week. You cannot stay
We're a
out.
big news team, Luke. We're a big news team. What have we done this week?
Well, you've made some announcements of players that haven't actually
Well, hang on,
signed.
did we make announcements or did the paper make announcements?
Who's
source.
running the show there?
There was a
Hard to
source.
say, Sean.
running the
Hard to
show?
say.
There was a
Who's in
source
charge?
that announced a good mate of the show
Yeah.
and all of us, Matt Giddo, signed with you guys. And
So that's
I don't
official?
know. I don't know if you maybe just piggybacking off his name to kind of get your Giltinis out there. But
You should just
We're
start
closer to signing
announcing
Matt Giddo's
everyone.
kids than we are signing Matt Giddo.
mate, they'd be good.
We're looking to
Good
the youth,
pedigree.
we're not looking to the
Yeah.
past. Look, you know what? He's a player we'd love to have, but he's certainly not signed. I think we're just going to deal with that for a long time, Lou. You're going to hear...
Yeah.
The reality of it is...
Dan Carter's keen.
Let me talk to him later. Bowden Barrett, I've got all your numbers. Answer my calls. The reality of it is there's a salary cap over there.
Which you don't care about.
New York are clearly not paying a huge amount of money for their players. We're trying to do it the right way. I don't think we're not going to be able to get a star-studded side like everyone thinks, but people are now interested in going there, and if we can find ways to get them there, absolutely.
And I think the one thing is that this salary cap, it'll start to expand as the competition grows. And like you say, there are players in their prime as well as players that are perhaps a little bit past it. Not like, you know, Adam Ashley
Like
Cooper
who?
and Giddo.
Yeah.
Like those
Chris
old
Robshaw,
guys.
you seen he's past it?
Well, you know, he's at least at the back end.
Yeah.
But there are players that are in their prime that are actually, you know, showing interest and wanting to go over and play in that sort of
So
competition.
there's players at the back end, Drew, and there's players who are getting dragged behind a car on a tyre. You're that tyre at the moment. But I like the fact that you're hanging on.
Well, you know what? Look, if it gets me to New York, then I'm in. Those bright lights. I'm like a moth. I'm just like floating around those lights.
One of the teams that you'll play against, likely the Gilgronis, the offshoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they've been in the comp for 3 or 4 years, owned by the same person.
Is it big brother, little brother? Who's the bigger brother in that situation?
Well,
the
we're
Gilgronis?
allowed, so we're going to be the big brother of Corden, but they're a new side. They're an existing
Established
side. We're a new
yeah.
side. So
and
yeah.
2 new coaches,
Yeah,
Sam
Sammy
Harris
Harris.
and Mark Gerard,
Yeah.
who you'd all know very well, which is exciting to
And
see.
I'm not saying they were the leaks to the article, but I'm looking down the camera. I'm saying, explain yourself, fellas, because we certainly didn't say anything.
Oh, there's a big rivalry already. The Gilgronis versus Giltinis. Who's going to wake up with the least hangover out of the two of you?
We'll wait to find out that one. Super Rugby in New Zealand on the weekend was very entertaining. Again, the Blues, 3 from 3. I don't think many people would have predicted that going into this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Blues are my team. When we started this, we picked a team, and the Blues are my team. To be honest, I would have liked them to probably be a bit more convincing on the weekend than they were.
Right.
That's if I'm nitpicking. I mean, they're a team that, again, you see the likes of Caleb Clark, Rico Ioane, those guys, and what they can do from inside their own 22, and then put it on. But I just thought that they had them on the ropes a few times, and they just found a way to get back into it. And I think it's going to come down to the Blues versus the Crusaders, and the Crusaders aren't a team that you can kind of give that many opportunities to.
But the Blues previously, when it could go either way, they lose those games.
I'm still on them. I'm still on them.
Of course, right. It's a free lunch. Look, I'm really impressed with Auckland, and I like it for the game. It's good. We haven't seen Auckland, a dominant part of New Zealand. We haven't seen them fire for so long. I've won a title since 2003. Is that right? So that's such a long time for a place that's produced really good All Blacks. And I still think the Crusaders are the team to beat. They're polished and they're going for. I know it's not Super Rugby again, but they've won 3 Super Rugby straight, and they're looking good to win a 4th title or a 4th championship in 4 years. That's massive.
And Crusaders, they were too good against the Chiefs. Our man Severis, he's so good.
He came off with 20 to go.
Job done.
Did what he needed to do.
2 try assists.
You save those Hemis.
He's so
it's like
good.
you take your Ferrari out for a weekend drive, and then you put it back in.
Just put it back in. Untouched.
Buff it up, and then you just get ready for the next weekend.
I feel sorry for the Chiefs. They're 0-3, and that's because they're my team for the free lunch.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you got on their back, and
there's a lot to carry.
They're in every game, and all those games are close. And again, I've been impressed with the skill level in the wet. There's tries being scored, and if it's tight for 10-20 minutes, there's still good quality footy, and it's tactical, which is, again, we've said it before, but what we in Australia can probably improve is our tactical side of rugby.
Okay, Aussie Super Rugby, let's talk about that. We started this show
That's where we need to get into.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's get into that. Excited to get into a bit of Super Rugby Australia. Here we go, July. We're ready to roll.
But do you reckon we started this show via Zoom, 6-7 weeks ago?
Week 7 live.
7th episode, Luke.
You weren't even wearing pants.
That's true. You didn't know that, though. I sent you a selfie.
But I don't think we were sure we were going to get to this point, and it's nearly here, guys. We're going to kick things off with the Reds and the Waratahs, a classic grudge rivalry to kick things off. How do you see this one going this weekend, Hoilesy?
I think the Reds are a better side this year than the Waratahs. I think pre-COVID has proven that. They're still a young side. The Tars also have a few injuries, I'm led to believe. A few of their senior players won't be there for this first round game. I do believe the Reds are probably a better side. The Tars, what they never said this year, they never said they were rebuilding. I always thought they were rebuilding. I don't think their roster's strong enough. Could be surprised by the performance, but I'm actually more on the Reds at the moment for this weekend's game.
Well, the Tars have got Paul Gallen in for a bit of motivation.
What are you shaking your head at?
I just don't see the point of that. Like, does he have a mortgage on passion and for New South Wales? Like, does Rugby League have a mortgage on passion for interstate? Like, I just think, I don't know. Do you ever see any Rugby League people coming to Rugby Uni going, please help us and talk about our team? Like, it's rubbish.
He didn't have a great success record as New South Wales captain against Queensland.
He hated those Queenslanders.
A lot of hate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he needed to channel in other ways. I don't know, but I mean, look, there's obviously rivalry, and it's changed a little bit, I suppose, in time because there's a bit more crossover in players in the professional era of the game. But I still think that no matter what, I mean, I wore both jerseys in the clashes. I think, regardless of what's happened in the past, like you've got this, it all comes down to the respect you've got for yourself, the respect you've got for your teammates you've already gone through your season with, but also the people that have worn the jersey beforehand. But I don't know, I just think...
Who was the best ever person to execute a pre-game rev up for the Reds v Tars games? Who was the best one you got one from?
I mean, I think it's probably... I could probably name both, like David Croft. And Phil Wall, right?
That was 06.
Those two just they loved it. Like they were like, I mean, I don't get involved in any of that. Like, you don't need to give me that one where I'm like, I'm gonna go and fight someone for you, Phil, because I won't do it. Like
they weren't the guys in the sheds that were trying to rev everyone else up. They just had this. They almost had this unwritten rule that they're going to find each other in the field. They're going to punch on. They're going to find each other bottom of the rucks, and they'll choke and do everything they can to each other. And they got, in 2006, they got stopped half a dozen times in that game, and each time they were smiling at each other, there was blood dripping down, and at the end of the game, they're hugging. It was remarkable scenes. That was probably one of the bigger games I've played in, because it was 06. It was Wendell's first game against Queensland. Dell caught the first ball. He was on the wing. He caught it, and he did this big arc. And as he ran back towards the post, he gave the crowd, who were all Queenslanders, he gave them a big, like, up yours, and then he turned and charged at someone, and he was a man on a mission that game, wasn't he?
So when I first started at the Reds, he was my first sort of roommate, right? So I'd go in, and I didn't really know how to prepare for a game. I'd just be like...
He wasn't going to help.
Well, you'd mimic the guys that you're around, right, and the people that you looked up to. So I'd go in, and on game days in Brisbane, we would go into a hotel. And we go in, and Dell's in there in his red Speedos, and he's like in front of the mirror going, oh, look at the big Dell, yeah, like, you know, doing all this. And so I'm like, I'm in my Speedos, I'm like, look at little Drew. Like, and,
2 bottles of Coca-Cola.
He'd literally lay in bed, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to copy him. And so we'd lay in our beds, and we've got the racing channel on. He's ordering like a couple of steak sandwiches and fries and 2 cans of Coke, and we're just like, I'm sitting there, and I go out to play, and I'm thinking, geez, I feel rubbish. I've got no money in my bank, and I feel rubbish. But anyway, so in 2006, that game was our first time where we played against each other, and he always sort of said that I was like riding on his coattails. I was the white Wendell, you know, just like he was like sort of doing all the work, and I was sort of riding the coattails.
You just call yourself Little Drew.
But yeah, well, I mean, when you're in front of the mirror next to him, like, you know. But then this game, so we kicked off deep to Wendell, and we were like directly opposing one another, and he ran across the field like he does, like we'd seen him do in rugby league so many times, and I'd played with him for so long, so I'd seen it. And I'm not no one's ever said, Drew, you're a good defender. but I knew that Wendell was going to go off his left at some point. He went off his left, and I tackled him, and I went down. I was on the bottom of the ruck, and I was like, oh, mate, you got to get more than just that left foot. And he goes, boom, and whacked me in the eye, and he goes, how's that for more than a left foot? And I just went, oh, my eye just went whoosh, like this, just puffed up, and we're upstairs afterwards, and everything's fine, and we're at the post-match function, and his wife Tara was like, oh, Drew, what happened to your eye? And I was like, ask your husband. And then she was like, Wendell, don't hit Drew. So that was, I mean, it's one of those things where friendships, anything, you know, that's prior to the game, it's all lost, and you go out there and you play, and you just all put it out there on the line, and then afterwards you might get a slap from his wife, but afterwards it's all fine. Yeah.
And we only got to play each other once a season then, so it was such a big moment. All the states only got to play each other once. I felt as though that rivalry kind of diminished a little bit over the years when they got to play each other twice, but it's still big clashes. And the fact that these guys have sat around for 3 months, like, this is the best way for Queensland, New South Wales to play a game.
You never lost?
Never lost.
Never lost to
10-0 against
Reds.
Queensland. True story, Drew. 10-0.
But that's for the Waratahs and the Brumbies, right?
Yeah, I never. Yeah, both.
Yeah,
played them 10 times, and I won 10. Yeah. There you go.
Nice record.
Look it up.
We don't have to, you've just told us.
He doesn't believe you.
Some nice players to look out for in this game as well. Hooper, Wright, Maddox, O'Connor, Tupou. There's big names in this one. Who are you most excited to see?
I'm most excited to see Harry Wilson. I've been, really impressed with him. It's not necessarily a rivalry because we don't know who he's up against. I just thought his start to Super Rugby was impressive. We've seen him come through the 20s. He dominated the 20s, and I think there's a huge future for that guy. The way he plays the game, he's a big body, but he's also got a high skill level, and I just think it's something we've lacked in the game for a long time. He's 115 kilos, but he's got soft touch, he's got support play, he's got offload, so I can't wait to see him play.
For me, I think Will Harrison, young sort of 10 for the Waratahs. I think with the loss of Kurtley Beale, Bernard Foley, like, there's big shoes to fill, and there's a role that needs to be owned by someone. So I think all eyes will be on him for that first round, but also, I mean, Taniela, I just want to see how he can transfer. How can he transfer that 200 kilo, you know, like the physique that he's in. He's also got a nice little throw going on.
I'm all in on him. Happy birthday to me. That's what he'd be singing post-game.
I just want to see like him light up a highlight reel and start this Super Rugby season in Australia off to a good start.
Okay, well, Brumbies and Rebels, the other game we can look forward to. Rebels had to leave Melbourne earlier than they were expecting to, base themselves in Canberra because of the border issues in Australia at the moment, and government sort of changing things from day to day. They're on the road, that is good, but they're going to have to be rooming with their teammates for a good amount of time here. Got me thinking, who is the best roommate you have? Or how does that even work in a situation? Who decides those things?
Well, it changes from coach to coach. I've had coaches where they said, just pick your best mate basically in the team, and you do that, and that works, I think, because you spend a lot of time, obviously, at training and in team rooms and in team meetings and all that sort of stuff. When you want to go back to your room, you want to relax. And when you have someone that you can speak openly to, or just say, mate, turn that off, or it's time to go to bed, or, and you don't have to worry about stepping on anyone's toes, and you can say that, then it works a lot better. But there were times, I think, early days, Robbie Deans, he tried to manufacture, I suppose, a little bit of bonding.
Positions
and he would
accommodations,
positions, or perhaps unlikely couples, and say, you don't seem to, spend a lot of time with this guy. And I'm like, especially when you're traveling a lot. I mean, it won't be for these guys, the rebels, but when jet lag's a big factor, you just need to know, okay, when's time light out? I mean, I had a good understanding with kids where, you don't turn the light on to go to. If you need to do number ones, you go and you sit down and do number ones, right? So
hang on. Sit down and do number one,
so you don't have to worry about hitting the water.
There's room
turn the
etiquette,
light
Sean.
on.
Stop it.
So this is what Griggs would pass this on to
Yeah.
players. So you're always hydrated, so you've always got a water bottle with you. So you're naturally going to get up in the middle of the night and go to the toilet.
You have to sit down.
The rules are
That way you didn't have to
don't-
worry about hitting the water.
You don't turn the
which
lights
could wake
on,
up your
Sean.
mate during jet lag.
Keep the lights off.
That'll do me.
And you sit down to wee, and there's nothing wrong with sitting down to wee. If
There's a lot wrong
if you
with
haven't
it.
done it, you're a liar, Sean.
If you're a bloke,
If you haven't done it, you're a
no,
liar.
I'm not having it.
Anyway,
That's ridiculous.
you sit
That's
down-
Regan.
You sit down to wee,
George.
and you don't flush,
man.
and you don't
That
flush the
guy.
toilet.
That guy.
Sit down to
honestly.
wee, and you don't flush the
Yeah,
toilet.
you let the one sit.
Yeah. You got to flush number 2, of course. That's a
Oh
whole new
my
ball
gosh.
game.
But little things,
shouldn't be
you
doing
turn
one
your
of those
phone
middle of
off,
the night. Yeah.
phone facing down so it doesn't light up the room. Because if you've got jet lag and you get woken up, or you just, your sleep's disrupted.
I don't
you
feel
could
like
be
you've
staring
ever
at
had
that
an
roof
issue
for at least
being,
3-4
I don't
hours.
feel like you've ever had an issue being woken
So,
up in the middle of the night. I
look,
reckon you're a fairly big.
I'm not a great sleeper, but I make sure I sleep well. So.
Yeah, so I reckon we
another
went
story.
to Africa once, and the rule was you basically take your melatonin, which is your natural sleeping tablet. You take that, and then you go to bed. But you only take sleeping tablets if you wake up between midnight and 3 a.m. because you can't take them at 4, 5, or 6 a.m. Anyway, we're in Sun City. The light,
Wait, he's got a story.
the power went out.
And I have a feeling I don't want to tell it.
So the power went out on every. The power went out in the hotel room. Adam Ashley Cooper, bless him, he thought he was doing the right thing. Power went out. Clocks went back to 12 o'clock. He rolled over. Thought it was 2 a.m. Took his sleeping tablets. Turned out to be 7 a.m. in the morning. We're up at 7:30. We're on the bus at 7:45. So Coopy, it's only as the doctor starts realising he's running on the field trying to catch and pass, and he's like Sean in Hong Kong, like he can't see straight. But
The dragon, he's just riding the dragon.
He's trying to function, and then the doctor's put 2 and 2 together. He goes, Coopy, what time did you take your sleeping tablet? He goes, it was like 2 o'clock. And then the doctor's gone, get him off the field. And so he sat there with on the esky for the whole session, snoring, sound asleep. We got back to the hotel, and we walked in, and he was backpack on his back, and he was bed on the body, but his whole lower body was on the floor, and he was conked out to about 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
And then was awake all night.
Yeah, he was awake all night. So there's been some minor mishaps with those over the years.
What about we roomed together down at the Snow when we saw Dion? We're down there to do a shoot, and I was using an acupuncture mat for my
Shakti
back,
mat.
a Shakti mat.
Yeah.
And I left it rolled out at the end of my bed.
That's right.
And he gets up in the middle of the night and steps on a bed of nails. And he goes, what the fuck? And he takes another second. Oh, fuck me. Oh, okay, that's a Shakti mat, bro. It's a Shakti mat.
Can you describe what a Shakti mat is?
It's just a bed of nails.
Yeah, I thought he booby trapped me or something. Oh my God. I took one step, I was like, ah! And then I tried to go another one in a different direction. I hit the same mat. Oh my God. So then I found some carpet, then I just got on my hands and knees. I was just like,
It's not a booby trap.
Did you sit down when you got to the toilet?
yeah, of course I did.
Lights off, no flushing.
Look, so
Stop
that way
standing,
I could lift my feet and not be on a bed of nails.
I forgot about that. Dion. Oh, sugar.
We might
We should do a snow trip this year.
We should go to the Snow.
We might need
Yeah,
some
let's do
subtitles
it.
for that.
I don't even know where to go from here. We were talking about the Rebels and the Brumbies. Alan Alatoa broke his arm in the last match. He now hasn't missed a game at all. It's pretty amazing this time, isn't it? I guess the time away some players have got, and then they get this opportunity now to sort of get back onto the field.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what it will do is expose players that have used their time wisely. I mean, I think we've spoken about it again, but, Teniella seems to be someone that's used the time to get himself in great shape, and I'm sure he'll hit the ground running. with Alan Alatoa, he's had the opportunity for his arm to mend. There's other players, but I'm sure there's going to be players where maybe they've been a bit more relaxed about it. Maybe they haven't sort of gone to, like really sort of turned every leaf and just sort of, gone above and beyond to try and get themselves in genuine, like sort of tip-top shape to hit the ground running in the first game. And I think that's, players will be exposed in this first round, or will have the potential to be exposed at least anyway. I was always exposed round one, but...
We're going back to that, so but it's different because round one you're together for 10 weeks beforehand, so it's certainly different. Hope we don't get a high number of injuries that you're starting to see in the NRL, maybe, who knows, but look, Alan's a huge one for them. I said at the start of this show when we did it 6 weeks ago, like he'd be my first pick because he's a tight head prop. The Brumbies game plan has revolved around set-piece dominance for so long. Based on the fact they've got set-piece dominance, it's allowed them to go and improve the other parts of their game. When you don't have that set-piece dominance, you end up having to spend so much time focusing on it. So their game is suited to the strength of Alan Alatoa, whether it's the maul, the scrum, and he's turned into a genuine leader. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he's, one of those guys that Dave Rennie's thinking along with Michael Hooper that he's ready in the next few years to take the Wallabies forward.
Solomon Carter is another one I'm looking forward to. Apparently he's been training the house, and the last I spoke to the Brumbies guys, I reckon he's firing. So
he had a great start.
Yeah, he started good, and if he keeps rolling that way, well...
He's Wallaby eligible this year, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name hasn't been spoken about because we've had so long, but at the first, in your position, Drew, like, he was very good.
Yeah, I mean, especially someone that was coming across from rugby league, and there's always a bit of an expectation for him to come on and do well. But he did well, not just in finishing, not just with ball in hand. I think his positional play was really good. I hope that one thing that he's probably worked on a little bit through this period is maybe a kicking game, just to alleviate a little bit of stress, because there will be times where he finds himself isolated in that backfield, and
especially now with the new changes to the kicking game,
50-22 rule or whatever it is. So, he's someone that's impressed so far, and it's you look at these guys that had form at the start of the season before pre-COVID. It's now up to them to sort of maintain that, or start again and maintain it, because there will be, I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but there will be gold jerseys get handed out at the end of the year, and you've got to earn that, and it's not just going to be around these games going forward. I'm sure there will be an element of what you've done pre-COVID as well.
Well, the Rebels weren't too flash sort of when Super Rugby started. They will have had a bit of work to do, and obviously in a weird situation now, being away from home from what looks like an extended period of time. How do you see these two sides matching up?
I feel the Melbourne Storm get to go and base themselves at the Sunshine Coast for 3 or 4 weeks, and the Rebels get sent to Canberra. They've drawn the short straw there, haven't they? Beautiful rugby town, Canberra, but in this time of year, it's not easy. They've come from Melbourne, but I don't think, again, I don't know how much sides have been able to do with players during COVID, but I think the Brumbies are a far superior side to the Rebels. If they can compete, they're doing well. I generally think there's that big a gap between the Brumbies and the Rebels.
Right.
I just think that there may be a silver lining in that they have to relocate to Canberra, because sometimes it can galvanise a team when you've all given up something. They're away from families, they're away from partners, they're away from their home sort of comforts, and sometimes that can galvanise you. I mean, we always talk about, in previous times, Super Rugby, you always like to get that trip to South Africa early, right? So it's, in some ways, if it's utilised well and they bring the team together, and it's almost like an us versus them mentality, it could work in their favour, but I guess time will tell.
Geez, I'd love to knuckle COVID-19. It is really stuffing everything, isn't it?
Yeah. What's it stuff for you, Sean?
But for everyone.
No, I'm just saying
everything.
In particular.
The Rebels have got to shift up to Canberra. There's some sevens issues on the
lots
world
of
circuit.
Talk us through the sevens
really
issues.
dropped one on its chin. I'd give it a running crack.
I wouldn't go near its chin, mate. That's the problem. People like you are getting too close to it.
Honestly, anyway, it's causing all sorts of dramas. So they're based up in Canberra for the duration of Super Rugby Australia.
Are they up for the whole Super Rugby?
I believe so.
There'll be somewhere. I don't know.
It costs us around 200k.
There were announcements this week about the border crossings, and
they came out today.
I think Victoria. Well, we don't know when this is going to go to air.
Oh, I gotcha. TV expert. Gotcha.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, moving on.
We'll see how that all sort of plays out. Something that we're starting this week, put a tweet out about viewer mailbag. We've got a couple of questions that I'm going to throw at you guys.
Shoot.
Yes.
Really
so
good
first
questions.
off, Harry Childs from C4
Harry
would like to know, Hoilesy and Drew, did you or any teammates have any game day superstitions? This is a good one.
Yeah, getting my red Speedos and pose in front of the mirror with Del.
Besides that.
Yeah. No, To be honest, I wasn't one for superstitions.
You vomited.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always vomited just the last thing I did before I went on the field.
Did
but
you?
That was more because I don't think I had the capacity to concentrate for long periods, so I just didn't think about the game, and then all of a sudden when they say 2 minutes, then I'd think, oh, I'm about to go out and just vomit.
In the change room?
Yeah. So
you'd hear
each
it.
team huddle, I'd
Quite disturbing.
most times when
sitting down
I run
when
on
you
the
threw
field,
up.
Lights off.
I'd have like the bloodshot eyes, I've red eyes because I've just sort of, I just got everything up, but got that steak sandwich and fries up. But I just always thought I started with some superstitions. Then you'd lose a game and I'd start a new one, then I'd lose a game. And, we weren't that good at the start when I was playing at the Reds. Like, we didn't win many, so superstitions didn't last a long period of time for me, so I just sort of got rid of them. But
Yeah, I think over
some
time I
players
tried to get them all out of my game, to be honest. I don't have any towards the end. I had some players that, I don't know if they were super, like Rocky had some unusual traits.
Habits,
Like
yeah.
Rocky Elson was often be late to running out. Decided
as
to
a
go
captain
out.
as well.
Yeah, and well, in his early part of his career, often he'd miss the run out and he'd be in the back of the change room brushing his teeth. Yeah, that was quite unusual, and obviously good dental hygiene is
he's
very
got
important.
great chompers.
He does
though.
have great chompers, and
Because
then
he just vomited? Or?
No, he didn't vomit. Probably because he
Yeah,
smelled
maybe I
Drew's
should have done
vomit.
that.
But he had the game day assassin bag, so he'd never bring
That's
the team
right.
bag to the. So
Just
you'd always
stop
have your
for a-
team bag.
Just stop for a second. Rocky Elson would sit in the dressing sheds,
He'd stand in the mirror, yeah.
brushing his teeth
Yeah.
before kickoff.
Yeah, almost every game I can remember him doing that. Yeah, it just
Wow.
became normal, and a lot of things with Rock just did become normal over time, Sean. But yeah, he had his game day assassin bag, so everyone else had their team bag, and that was generally like that big, and had boots in it. Rocky had this tiny little, Daniel Craig style bag that I'm certain he had a couple of pistols in there or something.
And a toothbrush.
And toothbrush, of course. And I never asked because, if
just
guys
don't
if
ask
a guy's
Rocky
packing
anything.
heat, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, the second question. Which current players do you think will end up as coaches and which ones as commentators or TV personalities? This is from Alex Malcolm on Twitter.
I don't know about, TV, I think there's probably a couple of guys that have been looking to put their hand up. Nick Phipps is one that looks, he's very comfortable in front of the TV and he's very good as well. Really eloquent, he's inside in the game is up there, and I think Billy Meeks, he's starting to sort of shape himself into someone that wants to be somewhere in the media. He's doing I think he's got a radio show with Matt Phillip as well down there in Melbourne. So
Bit of an influencer as well.
Yeah, he's a bit of an influencer.
Yeah.
I think Matty Tamur would be good.
Yeah,
he's
as a
commentator.
Probably both.
Yeah,
Probably
I'd say both,
slashy.
yeah.
I think when you're looking at
Slashy.
coaches, you kind of think, I probably lean towards players that spend a lot of time researching the game, and there's other players that turn up and just play footy, and that's awesome. But then there's other people that feel like, I think if you look at the history of great coaches and you're thinking like Graham Henry, Eddie Jones, a lot of these guys were teachers by trade and they've learnt over time how to actually educate, so that's a good thing. So again, Michael Checker, a good coach, a great coach, but he was a good player, and he probably had to, Ewan McKenzie had to be a deep thinker of the game. That's the trend you're seeing with a lot of coaches, but again, you just don't know what people are
Do you
going
know
to
who I
do.
reckon to make a great coach? James O'Connor, legit.
Yeah, he's been
Legit.
through the highs and lows.
Very has picked up bits and pieces
Yeah.
around the
and I
world
think
from
he'd be
different
able to
coaches and
empathise with a lot,
influences.
and really sort of
I
connect
reckon-
with anyone really.
Yeah.
Because that's the other part of it. It's not just the analysis and
Absolutely.
and
It's
the
the people management.
teaching. It's
Yep.
the people management. Yeah, and he's someone that, I mean, quite often the case is you have to live your own lessons, right? But
Yep.
sometimes hearing that little piece of advice by someone you look up to and a coach in a position that you admire, sometimes that little sort of gem that he gives you or she gives you can really resonate. And James has been through a bit, and he's learnt some hard lessons, but he seems to have kind of come out the other way. So yeah, it's not a bad shout.
Commentators, any one of the Australian women's sevens team.
I was going to
They're
say for
great.
coach,
Honestly,
I was going to say
honestly.
Shani Williams will probably be a good coach one
Yeah.
day. Yeah, she's a real leader
Take
in
your
that
pick
side.
with that crew.
Yeah, talented group, those ones. That's our mailbag for this week. So make sure you get questions in for the guys as we go through these episodes. We'll put some stuff out on Twitter and Instagram as well. You can get those questions in. Drew Mitchell, Stephen Hoiles.
Oh, we're
Sean
done.
Maloney.
Wait, hang on a second.
That's
Is
it.
that us?
That's it, Sean.
We're
That's all right.
done. Jeez.
Goes quick out here,
Goes
Sean.
real quick.
It certainly does. Guys, thanks so much. Thanks as well for your company wherever you're watching. Big thanks to Maryland's RSL, the sponsor of Two Blues, the Parramatta side in the Shoot Shield. It is great to be here in Western Sydney for this episode. We'll see you next time.